because they're making the money, but they're not keeping the money, where you're committed to believing that you can build wealth and enjoy life at the same time. Your self-worth is not up to you. You're worthy 100%. You can do anything you want, but it's all up to how you want to exert that. I never thought I would be here. I was just trying to get out of debt. Wealth back then I just thought was money, but now I look at it way more holistically. Money is just one piece of it.
I'm super excited about my guest today. We have Germaine Foley. Germaine Foley is a certified life and money coach who helps high earning women build wealth without giving up the lifestyle they love. After personally overcoming $200,000 in debt, she designed a financial framework that prioritizes both freedom and abundance. Her do both method rejects the cultural belief that financial success must come with suffering. And here's what Germaine actually believes, and she's going to tell you this today. You don't have to choose between wealth and joy. You can actually have both, and Germaine is living proof. And just a little FYI, I am also, because I had the pleasure of working with Germaine as my money coach and have learned, if you ever hear me talking about money, you ever hear me talking about mindset and wealth consciousness, I will tell you that Germaine is always in my ear, reminding me of all the lessons that she taught me. So I'm super excited to have Germaine here. Thank you so much, Germaine.
Thank you. Thank you, Linnea, for having me. I'm so excited to be here today.
Yeah, this is awesome. This is awesome. When you said yes, I was like, yeah, here we go. I have Germaine on my podcast. I wanted to have you here because obviously we've worked together and I know how awesome you are to work with. I also know like the steps that I took, but I think sometimes people don't want to know just like, how did I overcome it? But they want to know you obviously overcame a lot too, obviously with your money story. And one thing I learned from you deeply was like money is an energy. Energy that you put behind your money is how your money is going to treat you. If you ignore it, your money's going to ignore you. The things that you put out there about money is really going to pay you back. The other thing I learned from you, and I still preach, I'll just say it, preach to this day, is that money is not tangible. It's not something you actually get to hold in your hand. And so I think those are two of the biggest beliefs that I really learned to overcome with you. So I thought, let's introduce you. What's your story? Tell everyone who you are, where you're from.
Yeah, so my name is Germaine Foley, and I am a life and money coach. And I do this work because my money used to be a hot mess. It was just really, really bad. Even though my husband and we made really good money, but we still found ourselves in over $200,000 worth of debt, stressed, worried, overwhelmed. And my story it's one that is long, and I won't bore you with all of it today, but I will tell you that this was years ago. So when my second son went to daycare, our daycare bill and our mortgage were the exact same amount of money. And that is when the stress and overwhelm really took over, because all that time we were able to like juggle things, right? We would rob Paul to pay Peter. We would take out a 401k loan or do a 0% interest transfer to move debt from this pot to that pot. So we were making it work. But then when that daycare bill came, that's when like all the things we were doing just started to kind of tumble, and I knew I had to change.
I wanted to ask a little bit about that. So you said a couple things there I think are really normalized, if you will. 0% balance transfer. You said debt consolidation loans? We were basically getting debt to get it. Yeah, payday loans, like getting debt to resolve debt. So, and I know that when your mortgage bill came and your daycare bill came, that kind of like was the indicating factor for you. So I'm just more curious, like when that happened for you, what was the why? Like, I know that the bills came and the bills weren't there, but you were making it work. So how come you couldn't just continue to make it work? What was the why? Why did you choose to really go after this $200,000 in debt that you had?
Yeah. So literally I had every kind of debt except for payday loans. We had all kinds of debts except for that. And so it was literally sucking up our income. So when I say we were making it work, we were barely making it work, I should say. We had overdrafts. And we were making multiple six figures, and we were still living where we just spent everything we made. And one day for me, it was just like the overwhelm and the stress was unbearable. And I knew that I had two young boys watching us, and I didn't want to leave the legacy that we were creating, like a money struggle, with them. And so one of the things that really lit me up was when we had about $100,000 in student loan debt. And so one of the things that really lit me up was like, oh my gosh, what would have been like if I went to school and my husband went to school and our parents would have paid for our college? Like what would be different today? And so that was like, you know what? I don't know what would be different with us, but that's going to happen for my kids. And so that was my why. Like I knew that I wanted to help them start their lives instead of us, we started way behind the eight ball, like way down in the gutter. Like we had to climb our way up just to get to ground zero. I didn't want that for my children. And even for people who don't, like I'm working with a client right now. She doesn't have any kids. She has to get to her why. We all have a why, and hers is she wants to retire by the time she's 60. So between 55 and 60, she wants to retire. And she has this dream of what that's going to look like and why she wants it. So to your point, yes, we have to anchor into our why. And mine was, I just wanted a different experience for my kids.
Yeah. And I think about that a lot because I don't have children either.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, it's always like, glad you mentioned that. Because a lot of times when I hear people talk about their why, it has to do with children. And I'm like, it's always been such a hard thing for me to relate to because I've never really had the urge or the desire to have children. So I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I think it really is important that for people to know, like, your why doesn't have to be kids. So
No.
your example of your client that you're working with right now and me, two examples of women who don't have children who also had a really deep why. So I think that's really important.
Yeah. And I have a client, she doesn't have children, but she has nieces and she wants to, be the rich aunt.
I
So,
love that. That's what I look at because my husband has a daughter and then, my brother has a son. So there's two children in our life. And, and then we also have a niece. But we look at those and we're kind of like, okay, so if we can make their life better. So I guess to that point, there is some children in there. So when you started to come out of this debt, what did you do? Because I'll tell you one thing I hate, and you know this about me, but one thing I don't like is budgeting.
Oh,
I am a planner.
yeah.
I am a planner and I like to be in control. So it actually surprises, I think, a lot of people to understand that I don't actually like budgeting, but budgeting has always felt very rigid, right? You can't, and so what did you do? Did you have that mindset? Like, what was your thought process there?
Yes. So I use the word spending plan. And actually, over the years, I've simplified the way I handle money. And so many women don't like budgeting. They don't like tracking expenses. We just don't want to have to deal with the complicated spreadsheets and the budgeting apps and all of that. So I've created a really cool system. I call it the 3 bank account money management system where you're not having to do all of that, tracking and things like that. So that's kind of what I did. But what's interesting? So I didn't get into the story too deeply, but one of the things I found was, when I was ready to change, I started reading a bunch of books. And a lot of the books that I read were all about restriction, deprivation, and things like that. So I took that idea to my husband and I was just like, hey, I'm at my wit's end. We have to change. Definitely, I don't want to, give up our lives, but it sounds like this is the only way to do it. And he looked at me like I was an alien. Like, who are you? What did you do to my wife? And he said, Germaine, yes, we have to change for sure, but we can't do it like that. And that's what took me on the journey of like, oh, it was like a wake up call. Like, why do you have to do it the way all the personal finance experts tell you have to do it? Why do you have to give up your lattes? Why do you have to give up your vacations? Why do you have to pull your kids out of all of their activities? And that's how I came up with the do both method, where you really take on this mindset that you can build wealth and enjoy life. Because when you think you can't, it's so dangerous because you do nothing and you avoid your money and you miss out on all the wealth you could be building because you think that you have to choose. And if your brain thinks that wealth building means pain, denial, deprivation, it's going to be like, hey, we'll do that later. We have time. It'll push it to the back burner. But all the while you're missing out on all the wealth you could be building through compounding interest. So that's kind of how the do both method came in. And I've just brought that through the entire thing. And once I figured it out, I knew I had to help other women who are suffering in silence, ones who look like they have it all together because they're making the money, but they're not keeping the money. And so, that's part of it.
I think one of the things that you, that really stuck out that you taught me was I have to learn the skill of keeping money. So
having money.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like for high achieving or high earning women, because I work with a lot of high achieving entrepreneurs and business owners, the thing that really stuck out to me is like each kind of like period that you're going through, each phase, there's a different skill set you have to learn, right?
Mhm.
So the skill set of learning how to make a high income, a lot of money, like I mastered that. And that's obviously what most of your clients have done, because your tagline is high achieving or high earning women.
Mhm.
Build wealth without sacrificing their life. One of the things that I teach people is like, as you phase up in your life, there's different skill sets. I think I just said that.
Mm.
High earning, right? Then it's like the skill of keeping money. And so
Yes.
like, how do you learn the skill of keeping money? Because making money is really easy. It's
I
really
know,
easy.
isn't it? So
So easy.
I learned this the hard way. So everything I teach is because I've experienced it and I've learned. I'm not teaching theory. I'm not telling you what I read in some book. This is my life. So when we got out of debt, think about getting out of $200,000 worth of debt. That took a lot of focus, concentration, and intentionality. So any extra money I had, I put it on debt. I threw it at my debt, right? We still lived, we still enjoyed our lives, but like if I had any surplus, it went on debt. So my brain, my psychology was all about money in, money out, money in, money out. We were used to sending money away, even though we were doing something good with it. We were paying off debt. We were doing something good with it. But once the debt was gone, I was like, okay, now I'm going to be able to save. Now I'm going to be able to invest. And I didn't have the skill of having money because I was so used to money coming in and money going out. So I had to get comfortable with actually just having money in my account and letting it accumulate and like being aware of the fact it took me a while to even notice the cycle that I was in. But then once you have that awareness, it's almost like you have to wake up to the trance you're in, intentionally like allow yourself to get comfortable having money and to see the money and to open up your account and walk around with I did this exercise because I was determined to like figure this out. I put $1,000 in my purse, like 10 $100 bills, and I walked around with it for like a month just to have it, just to be with it, just to be like, no, I have the skill. I don't have to spend this money. I could, but I'm learning how to keep it. Now I've become the person who can imagine not having a certain amount of money. And so it's like, to your point, there's a comfort zone that we're all in.
Mhm.
And for some of us, we might be very comfortable not having any money, even though we want it. And we've got to get comfortable having it.
That's so true. And I think as a person who's also on that same journey of learning how to keep money, I just looked at, to you, per your advice, I went and opened up a high yield savings account.
Mhm.
And I have money because I pay myself every month as an S Corp. I have to pay myself every month. And I automatically have money from that pay every month go into that high yield account. So I'm basically direct
Mhm.
depositing into that. And the other day I was like, oh, I wonder how much money in there. And I was shocked. I was
Ooh.
like, oh my gosh, I'm really good at keeping money. This feels so good just to like watch it build up over time.
Yes.
And then in the high yield interest, you start to see that interest add on there too.
Mhm.
While it's not like equity in a home sort of
Right.
numbers, but it's still just like, oh,
Free
that
money
kind
is
of,
your money making you money.
I'd like you to talk a little bit more about like how the do both method works.
Yes.
Because I think that's really important for people to know. But then like, I know there's a lot of people have an emotional attachment to money.
Mhm.
Our culture, our society, there's a lot of shame in money. Like we're afraid to like people I see this all the time on social media where people just think that people who have a lot of money are all bad, right? We've grown up with these thought processes and these belief systems that money is the root of all evil, that money doesn't grow on trees,
Mhm.
that, I'm not made of money. And so I kind of want to know a little bit, I want you to talk about the do both and kind of
Okay.
the emotional like stuff behind money
Yes.
thinking.
100%. Okay. So the do both method is literally it's a mindset where you're committed to believing that you can build wealth and enjoy life at the same time, which is the opposite of what society tells us, especially women. Because society says you have to sacrifice until you retire. So live like no one else so you can retire a millionaire. And that never resonated with me. I'm like, why would I wait until I'm 60 in 70 to like enjoy my life when I have all this time. It just never resonated with me. And now I know why. And so that's, again, one of the reasons why I avoided my money. And I kept telling myself I had time because I thought I had to like
Mhm.
choose. So do both means you're committing to doing both. And so everybody's like, okay, fine, how you do it? So based on the season of life you're in, you really want to get clear on what's most important to you. The problem is a lot of us, we are spending on any and everything. And most of the stuff we buy is impulsive, it's not meaningful, and it doesn't do anything to enhance our lives. A lot of us use our money to feel better. We use it as coping mechanisms to entertain ourselves, to deal with boredom. That's why retail therapy is a thing, right? So when you stop spending your money unintentionally and you spend it on things that matter, maybe for you it's travel, maybe for you it's experiences or personal development or professional development, you choose based on the season of life you're in what's important, and it'll change. And you also want to take into account the fact that I also want to build wealth, right? Enjoy life and build wealth. So, based on that, where are you financially? What are your goals? And then we prioritize your financial goals and we start working on just one of those at a time so that you can do both. You can enjoy life, you can do the things that are meaningful, and then you're working on your financial goal, your first financial goal. And once you hit that, then we go to the next one and the next one. And then it just ends up snowballing where you just start making really, really amazing progress on both ends.
I love that. And that was one thing is when we first started working together, you actually did, I don't know what the exercise was called, but it was like making sure that your money energy fit with your values. So
Yes.
you like actually almost did like a values exercise. Like what are the things that you value the most in life? And then
Mhm.
look at my bank. You had me look at my bank account and say,
Yeah.
okay, of your spending over the last, I don't know, remember if it was like 30 days or 6 months or whatever,
Mhm.
but how much is going on your values? And I had no idea when we did it that you were going to be doing that because you did the values first and then the bank
Mhm.
account exercise. And it was
Yeah.
just kind of shocking to like what I had written down, like my number one value is travel. Like I
Mhm.
love to travel. Like I love travel, not just because I like to go see fun places, but like I like, I did a call the other day and I told people like my goal in life is to go get Instagram worthy photos on every single ocean in the world. Why
Mhm.
not?
I love
Because I
that.
love
Yeah.
water. I love the
Yeah.
water. We have a beautiful world. We have a beautiful earth. I'm only here on a very short period of time, so I might as well experience
Mhm.
as much of it as possible. And none of my spending had to do anything with that. It all had to do with paying off bills
Yeah.
and it all had to do with paying off debt. So kind of like you as in the whole like, okay, earn some to pay some, earn some to pay some. So it was fascinating.
Yeah. And for business women, it's even sometimes it's not the personal spending for business women. Women, it's the business expenses. It's the
Yeah.
investing in the business and sometimes over investing in the business. And so based on and the way I work with my clients is very individualized, it's private coaching. So we get to dig into all of that to see what your unique situation is and how you can move forward based on your values, based on your financial goals, and based on the season of life you're in.
That was really just very inspiring. And those are the things that I remember. So we worked, hey, you guys, if you're watching this, we only worked together for 12 weeks, but it was probably the most impactful 12 weeks of my life. Because one thing I learned, according to with Germaine, like she just said, it was business expenses. I will spend money on marketing and coaching programs and everything for my business all day, every day, because I am a learner. I love to
Mhm.
learn. So for
Mhm.
me, it was like putting the money right back into the learning aspect of it, but not actually taking the time to utilize and implement the knowledge that I
Yeah.
was learning from the coaching programs. So,
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Love
yeah.
it so much. So, yeah, so that's the do both method. And listen, it's not a perfect thing. Just because we implement this method into your life, you're still going to have times where you spend on things that didn't matter. And then that's where we can get to the root cause. It's like, okay, what were the triggers? And let's talk about what happened and how can we learn from that situation so that next time, you are able to stay on track with your goals. So, I mean, it's a process and it's interesting because yes, we worked together for 12 weeks. And since then I've lengthened it because money is, something that we can learn about for a long time and still just scratch the surface. So my program now is a little longer. So
Okay, methods. There's a lot of money coaches out there, right? There's a lot of
mhm,
people, a lot of
mhm.
money gurus out there who speak things like debt snowball, debt avalanche.
Yep,
You have profit first, so they're kind
yep.
of, it's a little bit of a different money method. But is there any like any of those that you are like, yeah, you've got to do this, or do you kind of like teach and practice a little bit of everything.
It's all about my clients, whatever they need, whatever they want, whatever lights them up. I don't believe in cookie cutter anything. And
Yeah.
I think that's the problem with personal finance. A lot of people just say, do it this way. This is the only way. And if you don't do it this way, you're wrong. I believe that there's multiple ways. So if someone was in debt, I have multiple ways. Yeah, we can do the snowball. We can do the avalanche. I have one called the annoying debt first, because sometimes we have some
Oh,
debts in our lives that we just want to get rid of. Maybe you owe someone money, or maybe it was like one of those things you just regret and you're just like, I just want to get this out of my life. We can go there. For some people, I do not recommend this for everyone, especially if you're not working with a coach. But sometimes it makes sense, especially if you're going to be with a coach for a long term, is to maybe transfer to a 0% interest. And we really work on paying that off just to save on that. And then, but I really caution people on that if they're not working with the coach, because 9 times out of 10, when you do that, you end up with double the debt. So you clear off this card, put it on this card. And then because your habits and mindset hasn't changed and you're still the same person doing the same things, you run up this card. So now you have double the debt. So I only recommend that for my clients that I'm working with for a while.
that makes
So I can
sense. And then
help them
also,
not to do that.
yeah, don't do that. So 0% interest, the worst part about it is it'll send all that deferred interest. So if it's not paid off, you have to pay
Yeah.
it. Well, like it's not fun.
Yeah.
No. Was there, you have so much knowledge around like the science or the thinking, the brain science behind money, and so much knowledge around just like, just cultural views on money. So was there a specific mentor or coach that you worked with? Any favorite books that you read? Like tell me a little bit more about the education behind it.
Yes. So I learned the money strategy, just hard knocks, like my own experience. That's where I learned that you should always be saving, because when I got out of debt, it was really, really hard for me to save. So I like a lot of the stuff that I teach money wise came from just my experience.
Okay.
And then, of course, working with my clients. But the psychology piece, that came from, I'm a certified life coach. And so I went through a certification and I learned all the tools. So my program is not just money strategy, it's also life coaching tools, mindset work. We really bring in what is happening in the brain, because that's running it all. Like money is way more emotional than it is math. I bring in all of that. So that's why I bring it all in, because I have a life coaching certification.
That makes total sense. Because I was telling a friend of mine, I'm like, man, she's like one of the best coaches I've ever had. Because it's not just money; it's the story that you tell yourself about money.
Yeah.
And you don't realize that like we get all of these crazy beliefs growing up that money is just this bad thing. I grew up in a church, and so we quoted the Bible all the time. There's a verse in the Bible, I don't even know what it is, or which one it is, but it's like, and the money is the root of all evil.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you don't realize how much little comments like that just get ingrained in like the core belief system of who you are.
And when you think that, when you don't understand, so I was helping people with their money, with just the strategy, and it wouldn't stick. And I was like, why, all you got to do is do this, do this, do this. This was before I started my business. And they would do it for a little while, but then they would just stop doing it, or they would revert back. And once I brought in the life coaching tools and the psychological pieces, that's when people started making permanent change. Because we were able to get to the root causes of why they weren't saving, why they were in debt, why they overspent, why they weren't building wealth.
So interesting how psychology has so much to do with so many different aspects of people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
I find that a lot in what I do too. Like I'm working on this. I work with the psychology of what you actually want from your business. Like what purpose does your business serve you versus just, going out and, because I think like, what I do, it's like a lot of people are just trying to get into business because they want to help people, or it doesn't feel as like deep as it should be. And then you start to get really deep as to what's causing that desire, or where does that impact the impact that you want to make, where does that come from? It's probably the same with money too. Like what's causing that thought process to make you think that this is the only option that you have? Yeah.
And so to your other question around like the shame and like the money beliefs around like money is bad, money is the root to all evil, a lot of us have just grown up, to your point, hearing these things. And if you even think about like the cartoons, like the 101 Dalmatians, like you have Cruella, she was rich and evil. So those those like
Yeah.
images have just been embedded. So we have to give ourselves a lot of compassion and grace around how we feel about money. And then we can just start questioning all of it. So I like to think that, okay, fine. Maybe when people do evil things, money could be at the root of it. But I know for sure that money is the root to all good too. Because if you think about building wells, orphanages, helping the poor, feeding the poor, um, giving scholarships, that takes money. And so let's get money in the hands of the good people because it takes money to do good. So
Yeah.
I think we can just start to question a lot of those beliefs. One of the things I recommend is like if you feel like you are someone who has a bunch of money beliefs that are not serving you, is to get them out on paper and then just start working on them one by one. And sometimes once you work on one, like question it, like, is this true? Does it have to be true? What else could be true? Once you work on one, then everything else could like go away. Like if your main thought is money is the root to all evil, that might be the one thought that just frees you once you get rid of it.
You say that, and now I'm like thinking of like all the other movies, like Scrooge, Robin
Yes.
Hood. Like I'm just trying to think of all the other movies, and like even like Donald Duck. You're right. It's like I didn't really put all of that together, all the images together,
Right.
but you're right.
And
All the
and all the
stories.
good people are poor. All the good
Yeah,
people are poor.
yeah,
Cinderella was poor. If you look at Scrooge, the guy, the worker was it Tiny Tim? They were poor.
yep.
Yeah.
And Robin Hood, right?
Hmm.
They're like
Hmm.
all they're robbing from the rich to feed the poor.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just like interesting. I never put that
Yeah.
together. Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. If you were to think of one client that you really had the best results with, walk us through who that, like, you don't have to tell us names, of course, but like what was their story? Who did and how did they apply your method and see like a big major shift in their life?
Well, of course, Linnea, I will say you were one of my biggest success stories, but I will share someone else's story since we're on your podcast.
You can share my story too. It's fine. I share my story all day, every day to people. So
Well, I think the story I'm going to tell you is an important one because this person grew up with a lot of shame around money, and then they became, they went to school. They're now making six figures, and they were so used to not having money, right? That they just spent everything they made. So they were making six figures in their career, had an amazing career. And we got to the root cause of why. Like, again, it was these narratives around money is the root to all evil. If I have a lot of money, I'm going to become bad. And so what I noticed with my clients is sometimes, so just so everyone know, now I work with my clients for an entire year. We don't meet every week, but it's a year-long process because I want to give people enough time to have the full transformation because not everybody is like Linnea, we can have it in 12 weeks and be good. So she took a while. Like she would get on track, get back off track, get on track, get back off track. But one of the things she never did was quit. And recently we were just looking at some of her money beliefs and we were just revisiting some of the past ones. And I'm like, okay, so do you still believe this? She's like, nope. I'm like, what about this? Mm-mm. What about that? Nope, I don't believe that anymore.
I love that.
And the correlation is she's getting out of debt like crazy. Her savings is growing. She has freedom to spend because that's one of the things I'm big on is that my clients have spending money, like fun money, that they have a nice chunk of money to just do whatever they want to with, even if they have debt, even if they are saving. It's so important because when we don't do that, I think it all backfires. We cannot restrict our way to wealth building. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I think her story is a really good one because over the period of time, like to see the stark difference, the mindset, she started a new income stream, all of it. It's just pretty amazing.
I love that. I just love
Mhm.
seeing clients have massive success. It's like the best
Yeah.
thing ever. It like gives me like goosebumps every
Mhm.
time I hear the story. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What do you think that most women, or what do you wish more women understood about money and self-worth and how they intersect?
Your net worth and your self-worth are completely different. And your self-worth is 100% intact no matter what, because you didn't create yourself. Something, I believe in God. If you don't, something else created you, and that creator made you worthy. You are 100% worthy. You're 100% adequate. You're 100% whole. Then that's done, period. No questions asked. Now, you get to determine how much money you make. You get to determine your net worth. You don't get to determine your self-worth, but you do get to determine your net worth. And I like to think of your earning potential as this. You know how some people think, oh, there's this one pie and I need to get my little slice. And they think that if you make a lot of money that you're taking from someone else. Well, I like to think of it this way. There's not one pie. We all get our own pie. And there's a boundary around it where you can't get my pie, I can't get yours. It's impossible. And I get to make my pie as big or as small as I want to. And so that's how you can think of your wealth. Like, you get to build your wealth as big or as small, and nobody else can take yours because there's like this boundary around it. So that visual just really helps me. And I don't think that me making money is taking from anyone. And when you really think about like how money circulates. So let's say I go to the store and I buy a pair of shoes. So that money left my hands and went to the store owners. So then he paid that money to the workers, and then the workers went and bought food for their family, and then the store paid their workers. It just all, like you said earlier, circulates. So I just think that is the biggest thing, is just to know that your self-worth is not up to you. You're worthy 100%. You can do anything you want, but it's all up to how you want to, exert that worthiness. But then your net worth, that is up to you.
Do you think men and women look at things, and this is just very general, do you think men and women, there's a difference with the way men look at money versus women? And why do you think that is? And do you ever run into that with any of your clients?
Yeah, I think there is. I think it's just the way we were socialized,
Okay.
like society. If you think about how women are taught, like we're taught to coupon, to cut out our lattes, to stop shopping so much, to stop spending. And men are taught to go out and invest and conquer the world and make money and just go for it. And we're taught to kind of like shrink back, be careful with what you have. And I think it's just a societal thing that we can totally not buy into.
Yeah. It's just interesting because I never really thought about that. I was just like, you were saying this, I'm like, I wonder if that totally makes sense. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the other thing that I think could have something to do with it is like, if you look at, until more recently, of course, but if you look at the history, right, you look at all the wealth, all the billionaires, they were all men, right? Or there's usually a woman behind it, but the man was the one who was being showcased, or like the leaders of the companies, the CEOs, was a very male dominated vision, I guess, for a long time.
Mm-hmm. It's very societal. It's just what we grew up seeing. And so of course we conform to what we see until again, you start to question all of it. Like, okay, is this, does it have to be this way? Like, no, it doesn't have to be that way.
That makes a lot of sense. How would you define wealth? And is it different now than what it was when you first started on this journey?
Yeah, I think wealth back then I just thought was money. But now I look at it way more holistically. Like, money is just one piece of it. I think when you think about wealth, it has to do with all areas of life, like your relationships with yourself, with other people. Your health is so important, right? Because you can have all the money in the world, but if you're unhealthy, like, people, they will trade it in a minute, right? Because like, you can always make more money, but you can't get your health back if it's deteriorating, right? So I think it's more holistic than that. I think money is not everything. It's not the most important thing, but it is important enough because that's just the way our society is made up. So yeah, 100%. Do
you have any of your favorite like books, like wealth books or money books? Like, what are some of those favorite ones?
I love, it's called Money and the Law of Attraction.
Okay.
This is by Esther Hicks. It's an unconventional one. It's not your typical personal finance book, but she talks about the energetics of money and attracting it. It's one that I go back to often. Another one is called The Abundance Code. That's also around the thinking and the energetics of money. Yeah. Yeah. And then if you want a practical one that'll give you like a bunch of step by step, I like I Will Teach You to Be Rich by
Ramit Sethi. That's a great
yeah.
one.
Yes.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
great one.
Yeah.
I just read this one that I love. So if you haven't read this one, it's called Happy Pocket Full of
Oh, yes.
Money.
I have that one. Yes. That's
I
another
like,
one that you have to keep reading.
yeah, I just was like, I'm reading, I'm like, oh my gosh. And it just like, it goes into the full like
Yeah.
idea of wealth consciousness, not just
Yeah.
like, and it basically proves everything I ever learned from you. It proved that money is it's a tiny little speck in the whole world, the whole universe of wealth. Money is
Yeah.
just a tiny little, it's a tool. It's
It's
just
a
a tool.
tool.
It's like having
It's
a
a tool.
hammer.
Exactly. And like you can do amazing things with the hammer and you can also kill someone with the hammer.
Yeah.
So it's just like when you think about back to the money is the root to all evil, like you can do amazing things with money, like I said, or you can do horrible things with your money, just like you can do amazing things with the hammer and you can do horrible things with the hammer. It's about the individual,
Yeah. Yeah.
not the tool.
So true. So true. What do you think has surprised you the most about you and your family, your husband, since really becoming debt free and being more financially empowered?
Oh my gosh. So I never thought I would be here. I was just trying to get out of debt.
Okay.
I was just trying to get out of debt because I was stressed and overwhelmed. But literally, I was sitting in the car one day. So we were done, and I was like, it was very anticlimactic. I will say that because I thought that once we got there, I was going to be like on cloud nine and just floating and just singing and dancing. And that wasn't the case. It was like, oh, okay. Because I kind of was practicing and becoming the person the entire time. That's why they say, it's more about the journey than the destination. But one day I was in the car. So I'm a Christian and I was in the car one day and it wasn't audible, but it was like spiritual, where it was just like, I didn't do this just for you and your family. I did this. I helped you to figure this out so that you can help other women just like you who are struggling. So the women who are successful in so many areas of life, on the outside looking in, it looks like they have it all together. But money is their hidden secret. That's the one thing they just can't figure out. You went through all of this so that you can help them. And so I was like, okay, now I have a new mission in life. So that was it.
I love that. I've actually even said that exact phrase to myself before. I can figure out my health. I can figure out my nutrition. I can figure out my business. I can figure out every other aspect. How come I can't figure out my money?
Yeah.
So like literally, I've said that exact same thing to myself before. And now I feel like I can figure out my money, but I couldn't before. So that just goes to show the power of coaching and how important coaching really is, because even though as a high achieving, high earning woman, a high performer in general, like I can do a lot of things, there is a point where it's like what got you here is not going to get you there. Yeah. Right. That's a great book, by the way. Also, Marshall Goldsmith writes that book. But what got you here won't get you there. And so I think that's like true testament to the power of coaching too.
Yeah.
So
100%. And listen, we're not supposed to know how to do everything. Right. And so I think if I could leave the audience, I'm not sure if you're wrapping up or not, but if I could leave them with one thing, it's just like, don't be afraid to get support wherever you're struggling the most. So if you're struggling in your business, get support in your business. Pay somebody to help you. Pay somebody who's figured it out to help you. If you're struggling in your health, you spend money on healthcare, don't you? Or maybe you need a coach or a nutritionist. And if money is the area you're struggling in, get help, because you don't have to do it alone. It's one of the toughest things to figure out. It really is. And because of the shame, because we think we should figure it out, because, people think we have it all together, we hide in shame and then we avoid it. And then you wake up and it's almost time to retire and you're just like, okay, I don't have enough. I'm going to have to work for the rest of my life. By the way, women, we outlive men, so we need to have more money than they have.
True. So true.
But it's not happening that way. They are retiring with all the money and we don't have enough. So we got to change that.
True. Yeah. Hey, speaking of that, if someone wants to coach with you, how do they find you? Where do they go?
So I just recorded a private podcast audio series that I would love to gift your listeners. So they can pick it up at germainefoley.com/wealth class. That's Germaine with a G, Foley.com/wealth class. I think that's a great place to start because you will be immersed in everything that I believe, everything I teach. You'll hear from some of my clients, my story, and definitely listen to that. I talk about how you can book a consultation with me if you want that. But yeah, I think the best place to start is there just to get really clear on like, okay, what is this lady all about? And what is this do both method? And how does she do it? You can learn all about it in that private podcast series.
I love that. Yeah. And great podcast, by the way. So that's actually how I found you. And here was the question I wanted to ask you. So this has kind of a little bit to do with money, but more about to do with marketing, because a lot of people that are listening are into marketing, right? And the reason I found you and the reason I stuck to you was I think that you were on someone else's podcast. And so I was like, oh, you had said, I help high earning women who know how to make a lot of money, but don't know how to keep it. And I was like, oh, that's me. Like, duh. We kind of close out with this, with the marketing piece of it. Like, because a lot of these people are business owners that are going to listen to this and watch this, and they're going to want to know, how did she get so clear on that exact target client? Like, and how did you know that that was what you were going to, because you've stuck with that. I mean, that's been your thing. And I think a lot of people kind of go through like different avatars and whatnot as their time goes on, but that's your forte. That's your niche for sure.
Okay. So I knew that that's who I wanted to help. Because again, I wanted to help me, the person, the woman who was like me. So either you're married or you're single, either way, you're making money and you have financial autonomy, right? You don't answer to any, like you don't rely on someone else for money. And if you do, that's fine, but you know how to go out there and make money on your own. And I was leaving that part out about high earning, high achieving. And I don't really use high achieving anymore. I use what you said, high earning, or I say, women who make good money.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, like a lot of people they make money and the money goes away, but some of them are not making a lot of money. And so I was getting a lot of them to come to me. And the way that I teach, like you got to be making money to do the things that I say. You have to have the income.
Yeah.
Right. So I teach something around like the 5 core areas of money. You really need to master the 5 core areas of money. The first one is income. And so in order to do the things I teach, you got to be making money. And so I was like, okay, you got to just call it out. You got to just say who you want to help. And I was afraid to do that for so long because I thought I was alienating people. But once I got over that fear and I have a podcast, I'm like, well, you have a podcast, a free podcast that can help anybody. That's for them. If people want to work with you one-on-one and get like your personal support, then you just got to call them out. And so I started doing that.
Yeah, you just took the plunge and you did it. And that's a really, really important message because a lot of times people are so scared to alienate an audience. Yes. I personally have experienced that, and I'm kind of experiencing that a little bit right now, but they're so scared to alienate an audience because they want to really get targeted on who they serve. But to your point, there is so much free content out there. So it's okay if you are a high earning woman, a high earning business owner, and you want to work with people who are also high earning. That's okay. Because your podcast is free. Your website is free. You have an Instagram, which is free. There's so much out there that's free that you can help so many more people. But the ones who are willing to invest in themselves and have the resources to do it, you can have a much deeper, profound impact on them.
Yeah. And I feel like sometimes we're the population, the women who are doing well and, making the money, we're kind of ignored, right? All of the things they're going towards people who, that's who the news talks about. Even when COVID happened and they were giving out stimulus checks, we were ignored. Like they didn't think we needed anything.
Everything couldn't qualify for anything.
No, didn't qualify for one thing. Everything goes to people who are, making a certain, and I understand that. But I wanted to be for the women who are like, you know what? Yes, I am making money, but I still have some challenges in other areas that I need to work through. And I want to be able to work through it with someone who's been there, someone who knows what I'm going through, and someone who can do it with compassion and not shame, and not shaming me and making me feel bad about where I am.
I love that. Okay, with that was an awesome, I knew it would be an awesome call to have you on here. So thank you so much. Anyone that is looking to find Germaine, website one more time, GermaineFoley.com/wealth
class. And you can get the private podcast audio series. It's just 5 episodes. You can binge it. Super easy. And if you like what you hear there, if what you hear there resonates, then I invite you to book a consultation with me.
And I'll tell you the one thing, just a quick testimonial about a consultation with Germaine. It is the most low pressure consultation I've ever had in my life. I think like you said it on your podcast, like I probably listened to like 20 or 30 episodes. And finally, I don't know which one I listened to, but I was like, finally, like, fine, I'm just going to book a call and just see what happens. Right. And
Yeah.
so I think a lot of times people just get like, just, it's not going to hurt you to talk to somebody. Because here's the deal. Like, you probably know who you want to help. And if you have a bad vibe from someone on the phone, it's likely they probably have the same thing. So you're probably not going to want to work together anyway. No pressure.
Yeah. And what we do, I'll just tell you what the call is like.
Yeah.
So you tell me what's going on. Tell me where you are, where you want to go, what's stopping you from getting there. And then I will literally on the phone create a 3-part plan based on what I hear you say that's specifically to you. And then I'll tell you how I can help you implement that plan. And then it's up to you to say yes or no. There we go from there.
That easy. That easy. If nothing else, you walk away with a 3-part plan.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Love it. Awesome, Germaine. Thank you so much. And everyone, thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you on the next episode.
See you later.
Bye.